It's Saturday, 11 o'clock on the East Coast where I am, and means college football is upon us. 12-game slate, and here at Stochastic, we've got you covered. We are going to be talking plays, sleepers, bets. I hear myself, just for the record. I don't know if you could stop that, my friend, but, oh, we're beautiful. Now we're rocking and rolling. I'm Ben Rasa. Matt Gajewski joins me as he always does, and we are ready to get into these games. We got some big rivalry games. Got some kind of made up games and a little everything in between. Before the show, you were telling me there's news dropping already. It looks like it's going to be one of those Saturdays.
Yeah, it's Trevion Henderson being out. So yeah, rebuilding all my stuff right now. Surely going to be a fun show.
How we do it, as they say in the streets, we'll do it live. I see all of our friends in chat. We're ready to go. We're going to dive into that. We're going to talk about what's going on across the industry. We even have a special deal for our Live Before Lock crew, which we'll get into in a little bit if you want some of the tools and stuff behind our paywall. But I say we dive right into it. I always like to ask you, I know the news just dropped with Trevion Henderson, but in general, how do you see this slate? 2 QBs, tight pricing, pay down options. What about the broad strokes before we dive into the individual games?
Pricing is really loose, which makes it exclusively a 2 QB slate this week, in my opinion.
There we go. That makes it easier just because, when you're talking about Superflex and you're talking about those options, we kind of can visualize who we might want to target and how we want to allocate that salary. But I say, if you are ready, friend, let's get into it.
Yeah, a lot to get into. Let's do it.
Let's do it. We've got Oklahoma and Texas. We start out with, I think you could argue the game today. Very competitive. Spreads bounced around between like 4.5 and 6.5. It's at 5.5 on most spots right now. Texas is the favorite. You have a healthy total in this game. And certainly it seems like there are plays on both sides. I want to start with the OU side. Dillon Gabriel is awesome. He's obviously got ample weapons. Do you think he can have success against this Texas secondary? And where does he fall in the QB rankings today?
I like Gabriel. This is a sneaky shootout game. He's running a little bit more than he ever has in his career. Still not really a true dual threat, but at least he's not taking sacks and giving you zeros, which he's done at previous points in his career. But he's not going to be owned. There's just other quarterbacks that are dual threats that also have the same passing upside as him. So I think stacks, he makes sense if you're looking for contrarian options. Pretty easy to stack, in my opinion. My favorite's Andrew Anthony. From there, I'd go to Jaleel Farouk and Drake Stoops. Otherwise, you can look to the backfield. Marcus Majors taken over a little bit. Always hesitant to play the Oklahoma running back roulette, but Javonte Barnes has been injured, which has set up Marcus Major for a good workload over the last 2 games. Just don't be surprised if they go back to some sort of committee or they just give Sawchuk or Tawi Walker the ball. That could happen too.
Yeah, Sawchuk. No, you mentioned
he's your guy, isn't he? You like Sawchuk.
Yeah. Love that guy. He was hurt and held out early in the year. He's here, and I think you could factor in. Certainly not advocating, of course, playing him, but we'll see how that distribution of the carries happen. Is there anything else on OU before we move to the Texas side?
I like all those guys for tournaments, but that's about it.
Listen, we've seen Texas. They answered the first major challenge of the year, of course, against Alabama. Quinn Ewers, 10 touchdowns, 1 pick. He's been efficient. Some mobility. Where does he fall in the QB rankings, and who are his pass catchers that we need to target?
Yeah, similar to Gabriel, but I think a little bit of a step down. He runs less, so I don't have quite as much interest in him specifically, but you could maybe look to a run back or a very contrarian stack. Ewers has some passing upside, but he's going to have to get you 300 yards today. If you go stack him, A.D. Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, and Jatavian Sanders are all pretty affordably priced. So I think you can get to them with ease. And then in the backfield, Jonathan Brooks, he's had a monstrous workload. Some people might box score scout and see that CJ Baxter had a lot of work last week. They played Kansas with their backup quarterback, blew him out. So Baxter got a lot of run towards the end of that game. I think you can use Jonathan Brooks very confidently in this spot. He won't be owned. There's a lot of running backs that are cheaper than him.
You mentioned you rattled off 3 guys with Ewers, and one of them was Sanders. Any inclinations about he's good to go, he's healthy? Because he did take, he sustained an injury last week. Just want to know if you had any info on that.
He practiced this week, so I'm guessing he's good to go. You truly never know with these coaches. So that is the best info I have right now.
Fair enough. Anything else for this game?
No, good game stacks for those of you looking to get different in tournaments. I like it there.
We move to another very competitive game, and one that certainly for Missouri would be kind of a coming out party. They get LSU in their building and they are underdog, but it's inside a touchdown. There's a lot of buzz out there that Missouri could be for real. Another healthy total. We just saw this LSU team play in a crazy game against Ole Miss. Jalen Daniels, just fantastic. He had 414 yards and almost a 100-yard bonus. He missed it by a single yard on the ground. I assume at 9K, even with the lofty price tag, he's someone we need to talk about.
Yeah, best quarterback play on the slate. All the passing upside of a guy like Dylan Gabriel, averaging 340 yards through the air. And he's the best rushing quarterback on the slate. With respect to John Rice Palmer, I still prefer Daniels. Play him in cash.
When you look to structure, because you just mentioned play him in cash, is his rushing upside enough to keep him maybe in like tournaments as a naked option, or are you looking to Neighbors or Thomas or somebody else in terms of stackability?
Yeah, the elephant in the room this week was DraftKings messing up on Neighbors and Thomas. They're both averaging over 100 yards per game, elite opportunity metrics, running around on every drop back, and they're both egregiously priced. Neighbors at 6'5", Thomas at 6'1". You need at least one of them, if not both, in cash with Daniels.
So if you are building, and it seems pretty damn clear to me that you're going to have some Neighbors, Thomas, Daniels, how does the rest of this game fall? Do you have Brady Cook with them? Do you have Luther Burden with them? And is it a full game stack, or are you looking somewhere else?
Yep, second best quarterback play, Brady Cook. However you want to rank the top three wide receivers in no particular order, it's Neighbors, Thomas, and Burden. None of them are priced prohibitively. You can play them all in the same lineup. All five of them should be in your cash lineup.
So it's pretty clear that the pricing kind of just led us to a pseudo game stack here. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, in tournaments, this is going to be extremely owned. If you start with those five, you're going to be duped no matter who else you play in your lineup. So be cognizant of that.
Anything in the Missouri backfield?
Cody Schrader is a little more palatable on FanDuel. His price is way down over there. DraftKings, he's just not in a price range where you need to get him. With Chip Trayanum coming available, Montrell Johnson coming available, it's not necessary unless you're looking for extreme leverage. Then you could at least entertain that, but I don't think it's necessary. Where I think you can go is some of the pass catchers that aren't named Burden, Thomas, or Neighbors for leverage. For LSU, Kyron Lacey should be playing more today. They don't have Hilton or Anderson. The only other guys that have touched the field for them are true freshmen. I don't think they want to rely on those guys. So Lacey should be a full-time player. Mason Taylor, tight end, also a full-time player, just not as dynamic as Neighbors and Thomas, of course. For Missouri, you have Mookie Cooper and Theo Weiss. Both of them won't be as owned as Burden. So if you want pieces of this game, those are pass catchers. On the LSU side, you've got Logan Diggs. I think he's completely fine. He's taken over the backfield of late, and he's played well enough where I expect this to continue moving forward.
Last question. I always like to ask you this, and usually your answer is no. In a game like this or in general, do you have any interest in trying to say, you know what, I'm going to be different. I'm going to put Diggs in my LSU stack with Daniels and a pass catcher?
I would normally have interest in this, but we have 5 games that are totaled at 60, just above, and there's one at 59.5. So I'm going to include that. A lot of opportunity cost for anything like that. I would not be stacking my running backs with QBs today.
Yeah. And there you see it. You know, we just pulled up again, some of the many things we have behind the paywall. You see so much ownership allocated to these receivers. It's absolutely massive. And it's going to be, as you mentioned, the leverage opportunities within this game. Doesn't mean just fade the game to fade it, but you should be aware that if you go to the very traditional LSU stack with a Burden bring back or something like that, you're going to be very, very crowded in tournaments. So it's a great game. Very interested to see it. I did not bet it. If you want to talk about the betting side, kind of like the over. I think there'll be a lot of points here.
I bet Missouri.
Yeah,
but
you
I took it way earlier this week. The line I took is gone.
Good. Well, at least someone is sticking with our team because they are one of the teams of destiny and they are on the slate. Well, let's talk about the news was the Travion Henderson news, and it's in this next game. We've got Maryland, we've got Ohio State, and we've got a larger spread. This is near 3 touchdowns. It's in the shoe. Let's get Maryland out of the way. It's not to discount what they've done. They're undefeated. They beat up on, I don't know, not great.
I'll discount what they've done. They haven't faced like a top 100 team yet.
He said it, not me. Tagovailoa and these pass catchers, what can they do to Ohio State that could cause some problems?
Yeah, the strength of Ohio State's defense. Easily the best part of their team this year. And it's going to be by far the toughest matchup Tagovailoa's faced. He doesn't run, so he needs a 300-yard bonus. The game total's not as high as the 5 or 6 we have above or at 60 points. So I think you're sacrificing a ton on a slate without salary restrictions playing a guy like Tagovailoa. If you're playing a contrarian quarterback in this price range, just find the salary to go to Gabriel, some of the other guys that are in much better game environments, in my opinion.
Anything in the Maryland backfield? It seems like they could be trailing, and Hemby doesn't seem cheap. Is this just a clear stay away?
Yeah, he's way too expensive for this slate.
On the other side, so we'll get to the backfield in just a second, but I first just want to do our due diligence. Kyle McCord, he's 8,100, certainly not someone that has shown any mobility. Is he an easy write-off, or do you think that he could be a sneaky tournament play?
Write-off on DraftKings. He's pretty cheap on FanDuel. I still don't think you need to get there, but I at least thought about it on FanDuel. Whereas on DraftKings, I didn't need to X him out because he projects so poorly, but if he popped up in any of my lineups, I would have just X'd him out.
Does that render Harrison and Ibuka and these guys useless as well, or are they one-offs that you might get to even without their quarterback?
I'm going to play about 200 lineups today. We'll see. This is because I have some small field stuff that I wanted to differentiate from my 150 builds. In the 150 set, I purposely made 2 lineups with Harrison and 3 with Ibuka just to have some exposure, but you can honestly X these guys out, but I don't know what they do. I mean, they're still playing 4 big games and they're ironing out kinks in their offense. I don't think they're completely uninvolved, but man, it's just pricing. Like Neighbors and Thomas project straight up better than Marvin Harrison. And they're over $2K cheaper than Harrison. Ibuka, it's about $1,000, but still like that savings goes somewhere on this slate. They're pretty unnecessary in a bad game environment with a quarterback who's inept.
So the backfield, we've said it a couple times, but in case you missed it, Travion Henderson, he's going to miss today's game. That creates a massive void for a team that's a heavy favorite. You've got Chip Trayanum at 4,200. You've got Williams at 6K. Do you have any inference of how they distribute these? Dallas Hayden, who's involved in the backfield? Do you think one guy garners all the carries?
I would expect the committee with Chip Trayanum leading, Mayan Williams being, I don't know, this could be like a 60-40 split. I don't want to call like Mayan Williams a change of pace. He's been a lead back at times when Henderson's been hurt previously. But this year specifically, Chip Trayanum's worked ahead of him. So even if this is like a straight 50-50 split, even if it was 60-40 in favor of Mayan Williams, what does Chip Trayanum have to do at 4,200 to get you there? This team's an 18.5-point favorite over Maryland, whose defense looks good on paper, but's been untested. I mean, Chip Trayanum is a very strong cash consideration. There's a lot of good guys at 5K. If you need extra savings, I would have no problem putting him in cash.
Anything else for Ohio State? You know, when you look at pay down options, Fleming, Stover, these type of guys, is this something that you could look to?
Stover pops a little bit in projections just because he's so cheap and he's on the field every snap. But I think you're dealing with significant opportunity cost playing the tight end today.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like that kind of slate you mentioned, particularly with the pass catchers. So favorite plays from this game, would it just be, you know, where will you tell me?
Chip Trayanum, sprinkle the other guys, ignore the rest of it, in my opinion.
Yeah, that seems like the prudent move here. I do want to mention, of course, we got a bunch of games and we're getting through everything. Don't you worry. But I've mentioned Superflex a couple of times, and it's a perfect time to mention Owner's Box because they brought Superflex to the NFL. If you have not played over there, if you're unfamiliar with Owner's Box, they do sponsor the show, and we've partnered with them here at Stochastic. We've got opportunities. Not only, again, the link is below in the description. When you sign up, you're going to get that first match deposit bonus up to $500. You know, if you really want to go for it or you put in a little money, we're going to give you a free week of our NFL Sims Max tool. What is that tool? You've seen it in action. If you haven't, this is your chance to test that and everything out. You get everything we've got, projections, the Sims, the simulators, all that good stuff for the week. And it's supported with Owner's Box. It's not like you get that for FanDuel and DraftKings and then you're on an island. We have everything ready to go for you. So take advantage of that. The overlay, of course, is appealing, and you get to play. I've been having a blast talking on this very channel about the opportunities of Superflex to roll 2 NFL quarterbacks. It's a fun format. It is unsolved. And I know if you're watching this, you know how it goes down because of college football. So I just wanted to give Owner's Box a shout out. Take advantage of that offer and get your free week of our NFL Sims Max tool while you're at it. Now, here we go. We're sticking in the Big Ten, but we take a slight directional shift because Rutgers and Wisconsin are on the slate. Sub 45 total, 12.5 point spread. This seems pretty bad.
X out Rutgers.
Okay.
Braylon Allen's really cheap on FanDuel, so I'll highlight that. He's definitely in play over there. He's a contrarian option to consider on DraftKings. If you find yourself with a lot of extra money, I don't think you will. But no Ches Malusi, that's the biggest news for this team. So Braylon Allen should be handling a vast majority of touches. He's in play for like 30 today, so he could definitely break a slate. But he's expensive, so even if he scores like 40 points, is that more than the other guys on a price-adjusted basis? I'm not sure, so he is prohibitive. The only other guy to mention, I think, is CJ Williams at 3.3K. Everybody and their brother's clicking Devontae Walker. You want to pivot in that price range. He projects for less, but he's going to be on the field a fair amount.
Poor Gavin Wimsatt doesn't even get an honorable mention shout out.
I bet Rutgers. I like Rutgers in this game, but I do not think he's live for DFS.
That's fair. I mean, I do want to ask you just a little about that. Does that just mean that you think that the game could be sluggish and there's just too much opportunity cost? Because if you think Rutgers, keeps it, say, within single digits, it's not necessarily because you think they score enough to be viable.
Yes, I think this is probably the best defense Wisconsin's faced all year. Rutgers with Wimsatt, I mean, they're actually playing a legitimate quarterback now. He's not dynamic by any means, but he is one turnover-worthy play in the year. He orchestrates the offense, and while it's still inefficient, he's not like delivering the ball to the other team. Plus, Wisconsin's defense has been awful. So yeah, Rutgers, I think, could win. I actually don't hate sprinkling them on the money line. Wisconsin sucks.
Tough times in Madison. I do want to ask you, you mentioned Braylon Allen. It's his backfield. Do you anticipate, though, there being somebody else to fill a Thunder and Lightning role, or are they going to shift where it's just Braylon Allen taking all of the work because, of course, Malusi is now out for the year?
I think this will depend on if they're pushed. If they're pushed in this game by Rutgers, which I think is likelier than not, Braylon should handle as much as he can. If this is a little bit wider than we think, you probably see some Jackson Acker. He's not talented at all, but in games where they don't need Braylon to handle 30 touches, they should spell him, you'd think. So he's not the worst click at 3,400, but with Mayan at 42, I don't think you need to anymore. Previously, I had a sprinkling of him, but now I have 0.
Yeah, I mean, the other pay down options that have opened up, I totally get it. And I think just to get it out of the way, no Mordecai for you.
First time this year, no Mordecai. So maybe we'll make some money today.
The end of an era, a short-lived era, I guess. Tough scenes, but all right, we can get that game out of the way. Now we go out west. A lot more interesting to talk about. Saw some comments in chat as well about, Washington State. What have they done to be an underdog here? They're a good team and they're playing UCLA. It's a 3-point spread, just around 60. Very, very healthy total. Let's start with Cam Ward and this team. He's been great. He's been outstanding. He threw for 400 yards against Oregon State. Now that secondary is a mess, but still, where does he fall in a very competitive quarterback rankings for this slate?
Yeah, it hasn't been all cupcakes for him. Oregon State, they're still a Power 5 secondary. They played Wisconsin. Cam Ward's played, not like an Ohio State level secondary, but he's played some reasonable secondaries, and he's diced them up every step of the way, which needs to be noted. On the other side, people seem to think that UCLA has this elite defense. I'm not saying they don't. I'm saying I don't know. The best offense they've faced is Coastal Carolina. And with all respect to Coastal Carolina, I love my Chants. But I think people are giving too much respect to the glorified running back, Nate Johnson, playing quarterback for Utah in that game. They can't throw the ball with him. And they won 14-7. The first play of the game was a pick 6 from Dante Moore. The defense is great, but I mean, you could play 9 in the box against Nate Johnson. He's atrocious. So, I mean, their defensive metrics look awesome, but it's still a 60-point total. Like, clearly, bookmakers don't think this is going to be an elite defense that's holding Cam Ward and Washington State to a limited score in the game. So this is one of the premier contrarian stacking places you can get to. Ward's also running more than he did last year. Designed attempts, shocking to me, but he's touching like 8 at times this year. That helps him with the negative sacks he dealt with last year. Receivers are all really cheap. You can play any of these guys. The guy who will be most popular is Carlos Hernandez. He's been inserted into a full-time role since the Lincoln Victor injury. But yeah, I like this game for stacks. I think you could play Josh Kelly, Isaiah Hamilton. Really, they run 4 wide almost every play. So a lot of contrarian stacking options as well. Great game stack for those of you trying to get away from Brady Cook, the LSU Missouri game, even skinny stacks. Like, feel free to use Carlos Hernandez in like a UCLA piece, and that should differentiate you a bit.
It does seem, though, like you just mentioned, some skinny stacks, things like that. You would also be comfortable with Cam Ward +2, right? Having multiple of these Wazoo pass catchers with him.
Yep. Ward, I don't think, is too far off like the Brady Cooks and Jaden Daniels. He doesn't run as much as those guys, but certainly is the arm for it. And again, the couple designed runs, you just need a little bit of variance and he could outscore one of those guys on a price-adjusted basis.
Is there any role for Nakia Watson or anything in this backfield?
He's been splitting with like a Jalen Jenkins more than we'd like, and Cam Ward taking some designed attempts has hurt him too.
So it seems like it's just the passing or nothing?
I think so, yes.
On the other side, you mentioned Dante Moore. You alluded to it. He threw a terrible pick 6 against Utah. He's a true freshman. He's got some talent. He had negative 51 yards rushing against Utah. That doesn't seem useful. What do you make of him? Is he a viable pay down second quarterback, or is he on the outside looking in here?
I think I don't have these stats in front of me. I'm still trying to build these lineup sets, but I'm pretty sure that pick 6 is his only turnover-worthy play this year. Unfortunate that it was so costly for Dante Moore. But he's quietly been fairly efficient. His completion's not great, but he's pushing the ball downfield, 9.9 yards per attempt. I think people are forgetting this Chip Kelly offense plays at the speed of light. So we have a situation here where UCLA is 13th in pace. They have a very willing dance partner in Washington State running the air raid on the opposite side of this game. There's going to be a ton of plays. Dante Moore would not be in consideration for me outside of just the biggest tournaments on the slate because of that negative rushing upside. But you're going to see a lot of plays, a lot of catches for these receivers on both sides, which is why I really like the skinny stack side of things. You can play a J. Michael Sturdivant who's going to be completely unowned, run him with a Hernandez or a different Washington State receiver. Logan Loya had 9 targets in the last game. He's 4-6. Maybe you use him as a pivot off of Hernandez or Devontae Walker or some other players in this range. A lot of good pass catching options for both of these teams. And I don't have as much interest in the UCLA backfield anymore with Chip opening up, Montrell Johnson opening up. But Carson Steele, TJ Harden are cheap. They're in a 50-50 timeshare. But I'll still say it. I don't think it matters anymore. People neglect backfields that are pure timeshares when teams are really fast. You see this sometimes with Michigan runs a lot of plays at times when they kill teams, but UCLA being 13th in pace, sometimes these guys both carry like 15 times. And nobody wants to click them because of the timeshare where they could both see reasonable opportunity in a game that has a million plays. So for contrarian builds, don't hate Steele, don't hate Harden. Think they're a step below Johnson, LaQuint Allen, Chip Trayanum, and those guys right now.
You have any feel on the game itself?
I bet Washington State.
Okay. I think Wazoo keeps it going. Interesting. It is a fascinating game. And yeah, again, Steele is getting some love here. And you mentioned there are some options for this spot. I'm very interested to see Cam Ward and what he can do in a spot. Yeah, I love that guy. Anything with Incarnate Word. You guys know the drill in chat. All right, very good. Very good. I'm going to mention, we're actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One more game, and then I'm going to drop, like I said, we have a special offer for you guys. I want to make sure I give you time to take advantage of it, but we'll do one more game. We'll do it at a little halftime of the show. Let's get Wake Forest out of the way. They're going to be sacrificed to Clemson today, 3 touchdown spread. I don't know. I mean, Mitch Griffiths, 6,800. against Clemson's defense, it feels a little thin. Is that how you evaluate this, or is there something that I'm not seeing?
I'm with you. I bet the under on Mitch Griffith's props.
Well, that doesn't seem promising for him. On the pass catching side, what does that do to Banks and Morin and those guys? Anything, or is it just a wash?
Yeah, on a different slate, maybe would have interest. They still throw a decent amount, but right away, you're in the same price range as Brian Thomas and Neighbors and Burden, and it's no reason to play these guys. Their touchdown expectation is extremely low. So even if you got 10 targets for like a Taylor Morin or something, what are the chances he scores? So I'd say it's pretty unlikely that an LSU receiver's held out of the end zone today.
And then let's just get rid of Justice Ellison on the ground. I mean, even if he gets 15 to 20 carries is against Clemson's front, how valuable will those be?
Not valuable.
Not valuable. Again, doesn't seem good. Let's talk about Cade Klubnik, future Pac-12 superstar potentially. But what's he been doing here? Again, decently efficient. He has some ability at times, but where does he fall in these dreaded quarterback rankings today?
Well, so far this year, he's been costing Clemson games, fumbling and getting them returned for a touchdown against Florida State in games they should win. But yeah, to your point, his designed rush attempts are all over the board. Last 4 games, 3, 4, 7, 1. I'm going to need more than that if I'm playing Klubnik. He's not a competent thrower. Under 7 yards per attempt, poor completion, tons of turnovers. Matchup's good here, but I think Clemson's also shown that they'd rather not use him. Probably a spot where they ride Shipley into the dust. He's had over 20 touches in back-to-back games. He also has upside for more touches if Wake keeps this even remotely competitive. If not, expect closer to a 50-50 committee between him and Maffa. Earlier today, I thought Shipley was one of the best running back plays in the slate. I'd rather have Montrell, LeQuint Allen, and Chip Trayanum at their prices.
So does that put Shipley on the outside for, say, like a cash build?
Yeah, unless you like find yourself with the salary for some reason, but I would rather play those other guys. I'm not playing cash for the record, just so you guys know.
What is the status of Antonio Williams on the outside? You've got Collins and Brown. Are these guys names that we need to consider? How do you rank the Clemson pass catchers?
Brown for sure. He's fully emerged as their number 1 receiver, I think. Bo Collins, he does a lot of cardio on the field. He hasn't really done anything with it. He's only 100 less than Brown. Find the 100 for Brown. Williams should be back today. And in what capacity, we're not sure. I also don't think he's ahead of Bo Collins or Tyler Brown anymore. So at best, he's the 3. And then maybe he splits with Troy Stellato. They benched Adam Randall, so I don't think he's in the mix. But it's Tyler Brown or pass for me in the pass catchers.
Yeah, where Tyler Brown, what exactly, like, did he just like emerge? They've been waiting for this dude?
Yeah, he's young. He's a high recruit. So I don't know. Like, Brian Kelly and Dabo, I don't know what these guys do during spring and fall camp. Like, what was Brian Kelly doing, and Dabo for that matter? What are these guys doing when these players are practicing? Like, I refuse to believe that Tyler Brown sucks in practice, and then you put him on the field randomly in a game, and he's the second coming of Justin Ross. Like, what are they doing during practice?
Yeah, it's a fair question. Just because, as you mentioned, seemed like a random outburst, and now we need to take notice. I'm just a little confused at how they didn't discover that in some games that weren't Syracuse. But you know what? We've got it now. And another guy that is garnering some ownership, and that's not surprising. It seems like Shipley and Brown are probably the 2 targets from this game.
Yes, sir.
All right. Before we move to the next game, I teased this a little bit. I did want to say, because we've got just a great crew, a loyal crew here in the College Football Live Before Lock Streets at Stochastic. First of all, we appreciate you guys. You hit the like button, you do all that good stuff. We are running, we're going to call it kind of a flash sale here. And what it is, it's pretty damn simple. In the link in the description of this video, you see College Football DFS Monthly and College Football DFS Weekly. When you click those links and you use the promo code Texas, like the state, you're going to get 20% off either the weekly or monthly for our college football. So if you want Matt's data sheets, you want the player usage, the projections, all the stuff that we reference throughout the show and we use to make our bets, to make our lineups, things like that, this is for you. Come in and save. My man Jacob just threw it in chat. It's a great opportunity. Again, test it out for the week, save some money while you do it. And if you're successful, maybe you stick around. If not, you have it for a week and you test drive it. We really just want people we believe in our products. We believe in everything we're doing. We really want to offer people a reason to watch these shows and get inside the ropes. So again, promo code Texas, save some money and hopefully make some money on top of it. Virginia Tech and Florida State. There was a time when Marcus Vick and Michael Vick were running around. These were good times. That's not today. This is going to be ugly. It's not even in Blacksburg, so it's even worse. It's down in the Panhandle, 24-point spread, 53-point total. You've taken shots at Virginia Tech even when I haven't teed you up for them, so I assume you'll find a way to kick the Hokies while they're down. What is going on with this team? Do they have anything going on today?
I don't think they'll have much. Drones projects decently, and that's only because he runs nonstop. But I still think you're sacrificing a lot in terms of opportunity costs. Like having drones in your lineup is a spot you can't use on Daniels, Cook, Gabriel. Pick your quarterback of choice. You can't roster two of them if you put drones in your lineup. So I X'd him out. Florida State's far more interesting to me. Yeah,
I assume we don't need to get into, Jennings had been hurt for Lane and Felton and these guys. There's just no reason.
No reason. And plus, drones can't throw.
Seems like a potential problem. Maybe they turn to Tootin. I'm not even going to try to say, forgive me for his first name, but Tootin on the ground, 24 carries against Pittsburgh. I don't see that working in Tallahassee. All right, let's get to things that matter. Let's talk about Florida State. It's a big spread, and they've been in some big-time games already. Are you worried about what we see from Jordan Travis and these guys, or do we just play this straight up?
I think this is an excellent spot for tournament leverage. Florida State is a massive team total. It's at 38, and the spread's not in the egregious zone where you'd expect the backups for a quarter, so it should be mostly Travis out there. He projects really well. He's left some rushing on the table, only 94 yards this year. I think that improves in competitive games. It's debatable whether we see that here. But you also have Johnny Wilson and Keon Coleman in the same price range as Neighbors and Thomas. They're going under-owned compared to those guys. Target shares, similar range. Upside, similar range. I mean, these are two elite receivers. I think you can definitely play them for leverage.
In the backfield, is there anything to glean from Trey Benson here or something like that? They should be playing from ahead. I think that's a pretty clear statement, but does that not matter? And it's just not enough volume?
I don't think it's enough volume for these guys. It's a three-way committee. Benson will lead it, and he could run into efficiency for sure, but we've just got a ton of backs that should smash now at this point.
Anything else from Florida State? I certainly don't smell upset here. I didn't bet this either direction. It just feels like a pretty standard beatdown.
I think so too. I did not bet this either.
Tough times. We'll see. It is an interesting game for leverage. I do agree with that. But all right, we got 5 games left. If you have questions as well, we'll do our best there. This is going to be a common question, so I kind of want to get it out of the way. And I assume the answer is flip a coin. But if you had to pick one of the LSU receivers, do you have one ahead of the other?
Neighbors slightly ahead of Thomas.
Okay, there we go. Let's talk about, this is an interesting game. Syracuse and North Carolina. It's around a 10-point spread. It's a healthy total out there. Let's start with Syracuse. What can they add to this slate from, the quarterback situation with Schrader, guys on the outside to maybe the backfield? How playable are they at these price points?
Pretty playable. Sneaky game. 59.5 total, so it's right there with the elite games. Schrader has elite mobility. He already has 340 yards on the ground this year. This guy, and when he's not getting designed attempts, he scrambles for his life constantly. He also has really cheap receivers. I think you can stack him too. Donovan Brown, Damian Alford are the top 2 I would get to. Really condensed target shares since we saw Gadsden and Isaiah Jones and Trevor Pena go out. And then LaQuint Allen, he's Sean Tucker. He does, maybe he's not as good as Sean Tucker, but he has the role. He is the only guy that touches the ball. Juwan Price gets 2 carries a game. And LaQuint Allen plays when they're down. He was on the field for over 70% of the routes last game against Clemson, 6 targets. His floor is awesome. Even if this game isn't competitive and Syracuse is getting buried, he still had 19 touches, and a lot of those are going to come in the pass game. Just elite floor with LaQuint Allen. Really sneaky team right here in Syracuse, and really sneaky game to stack.
Is someone I know I just kind of like to emulate this for the floor purposes. Is Allen a guy that's in the cash conversation because of his volume?
Yeah, for sure.
On
He
the
might
other
be your. I think I would rank him third if you're playing three backs in cash. Probably, yeah. It's like a debate between him and Chip. Chip will save you money, so that's kind of like if you need it or not. But I would rather play Allen than Chip.
So if they were the same price and you had that spot for cash, you would click Allen.
Yes.
Okay. On the other side, we've got a lot of very interesting situations here with North Carolina. And Chris Carlton just super chatted us in the same thing about how would you handle Walker in large field? Thanks and good luck. You as well, my friend. Talk to me about North Carolina and everything going on there.
So North Carolina, let's just get to the big news. Devontae Walker,
yes,
off. He didn't have a waiver. NCAA limited him. He's back now. Been practicing with the team, been practicing with them since the summer. He was their presumed wide receiver one heading into the season. So we're talking about a very talented player and one that should immediately play ahead of the likes of J.J. Jones, Kobe Pacer, and guys like this. He's the stone minimum, so he is the avenue that allows you to jam Burden, Neighbors, the studs. In large field tournament, I think there's options to get away from him. We're still making assumptions. First of all, that he's just immediately going to be inserted into the wide receiver one role. I think it was likely he played that at the beginning of the year. But even though he's been practicing, like North Carolina wasn't expecting to have this guy. How many reps has he been getting with Drake May? More now, but I mean, I don't think he's been getting a lot prior to this. And then he still needs to outscore the other players in this range. And there are some other players, not at the Stoneman, but Carlos Hernandez is down there. Logan Loy is down there. Guys with really good roles. And also we have other value plays. Like you can play Chip Trayanum now. You can play a number of cheap running backs on this slate. Just differentiate your build. And I don't think you feel bad about it. I have 14% Devontae Walker. I will be under the field to him. Feels weird. I don't know. I don't hate my lineup. So like I'm looking across them. There's plenty of good options.
It is a fascinating situation. Again, we are making inferences. I do totally agree that if you take like the traditional LSU stacks and whatnot, this guy is going to be in those lineups at like a ridiculous clip. He fits perfectly. It unlocks the salary, and you do need to be aware of that because again, you want to have a path to victory. You want to have that leverage. My second part to this Walker situation is not how playable is he. What does he do to the rest of the pass catchers for North Carolina? Do you bump down McCollum and Jones in these players?
Yes, I think McCollum in particular is a very good tournament play, but what kind of workload does he see? He's been bouncing all over the place. 21 targets one game, and then he was down at 5 the next. So it's not like he's locked into a workload by any means in this spot. It should at least make you nervous to play a guy like McCollum. I did purposely add some of him, but I think Omarion Hampton might just be the best leverage playing the board at running back. British Brooks will be a change of pace, but we kind of know what we're getting with Omarion Hampton. Meanwhile, I'm not sure what we're getting with the receivers. I would still rank them price adjusted. Number 1, Tez Walker. Number 2 would be Nate McCollum. If you really want to play Tez and get contrarian, I think you just stack him with Drake May. There's ways to get Drake May pretty easily now that we've had salaries open up. Drake May's unowned today.
And that's really where I wanted to kind of finish on this game. He's expensive. Does Drake May really, I mean, again, long-term, sure. How different are you treating the situation for the quarterback because of Walker? And where is Drake May? Is that a luxury spend or someone that you really want to make room for?
I think he's a luxury spend. I'm not making room for him with Daniels and Cook at cheaper prices, but man, he's awesome. If you can find him, I'd like him on FanDuel too over there specifically.
Anything else from this game?
I don't think so. Great contrarian stacking game.
Another big time game in the SEC. Certainly Bama still controls the destiny for sure, but you really can't avoid a second loss, and they're going to have to do it in College Station. Sub 3-point favorites. We both like Bama in the game. I think I'll put that out there right now. Talk to me about Jalen Milroe, a totally different type of quarterback from most of the guys we've mentioned. How do you evaluate him against the pocket passers?
Yeah, team total and game total just too low here. I don't have anyone from this game.
Really? So you have no interest in Milrow and the pass catchers or anything? I know I'm not even going to bring up Jace McClellan because I know you're a little tilted already today, but
He's
okay,
better on FanDuel. He's cheap on FanDuel.
Okay, fair enough. I want to ask you just quickly about the other side. I know that Max Johnson, turnover machine and not a guy that I expected you to say anything too playable about, but I did want to ask you about a guy like Evan Stewart. Super talented. Is the quarterback play and just the defense he's going up against the problem, or is that the type of guy in a large field that you say, okay, I'm just going to bet on his talent?
So game environment's bad, 46 total, facing a defense that's pretty good. It's the best defense he's faced all year, with all due respect to Auburn and Arkansas. Maybe you could argue that Miami's defense is better than Bama's. I would entertain those arguments, but they also have all their pass catchers healthy now. You have Noah Thomas back. Jade Walker's playing. Moose Muhammad's actually getting some snaps. Evan Stewart's route rate was not even at 50% last week. In more competitive games, I do expect them to utilize him. But you got 5 receivers rotating on the field for A&M. He does not even have the role, like the route role that Neighbors and Thomas have, or Worthy. So, I mean, if you're playing a contrarian one-off receiver, at least take a guy who's going to explode in terms of like route rate. I don't think Evan Stewart even has that right now.
And I mean, again, the backfield was a mess kind of to begin with, going up against Bama's front. Just something we don't want to mess around with.
That's how I see it.
Let's see. What do we got going here? Is Jordan McDonald a bad value play at running back?
Yeah.
Is there significant value at running back? We'll get to Plumlee. Don't worry. Over Milrow prop, 197 pass yards.
I'll pass.
This is a good question. What's the Saturday go-to food? I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe I'll just go traditional, some wings, things of that nature, but I don't have an answer for you. Maybe I'll go seafood today. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what's going on. I'm not going to ask you because you'll tell me like hot dog from the grocery store or something crazy.
I ate 3 hot dogs last night at a high school football game.
There you go. It's the world we live in. Purdue and Iowa. Oof.
You know what to do with this game. Just
yeah, you do. All right, let's get this out of the way quickly. Hudson
I love that
Card,
DraftKings gave us an 11-game slate.
They really did. Hudson Card 5,600. There's just nothing even with the pay down.
No, they should pay you salary if you roster Hudson Card. So
well,
rebate play.
Yeah, rebate play. What does that mean then for your boy Deacon Hill, who I had to mercifully watch try to muster up the strength to beat Michigan State last week? I assume that is just really not a good idea.
Yeah, ignore Deacon Hill.
Okay. I can't even find anything.
It's not even worth spending time on. Like, I'd rather use the extra time to talk FanDuel.
Yeah, honestly, you're right. Purdue and Iowa, you're not worthy of our time here. Our time is valuable here. We're doing important things. We're telling people about deals. We're giving you the tools to be successful. Asking for likes, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you're doing that as well. Let's get to UCF and Kansas. Let's talk about this because this is a real game. UCF somehow blew literally an insurmountable lead to Baylor last week. I don't know exactly what happened, but we're getting word that Plumlee looks like he's good to go. So start there. Do you worry like, oh, he's not going to be 100%, or you roster him as if he's good to go?
Yeah, no worries. I'm playing Plumlee. Guy rules.
Do you play him alone, or do you link him up with a pass catcher?
I think I still probably want to link him up with a pass catcher. Like, if he's going to chase down Daniels and Cook, he's going to need to throw some. And he's also live for a 100-yard bonus at any point in time. He also has awesome receivers. Javon Baker and Kobe Hudson are elite stacking options, and they're both really cheap. I love using those guys in stacks. So I did not create a rule to play him naked or stack him, but I just got a lot of him with those guys regardless.
What does that do, to UCF? Again, they're a team that certainly has got some explosive players. RJ Harvey is one of them. Do you think his role will be impacted drastically by Plumlee? What do we do there for the backfield?
It'll be impacted some, but I still think he's fine. He's had a monster workload recently.
Anything in terms of one-offs? I know you mentioned that you for Plumlee to really tap into the ceiling, the Hudson Bakers of the world, someone's probably gonna have to perform. Do you have lineups, or would you like lineups that don't have Plumlee, that use these guys as one-offs just on random, other stacks in other games?
Say that again.
In terms of UCF, clearly if you play Plumlee, I totally get having one of his pass catchers with him. But are you okay with those pass catchers not together, but just as one-offs on random stacks in other games, just having, say, like Baker or Hudson on lineups?
Or I got cut off for a second there. What I think you were saying is, oh yeah, my internet.
No, I was just asking about the UCF pass catchers, but not with Plumlee, just as standalone plays on random lineups. The moment of truth. Do you think that he's for or against this? I'm going to say that he's comfortable with the UCF pass catchers, because with the way they play, pace-wise, tempo-wise, I'm fine with it.
Do you have me now? Am I back?
I have you. I was answering I was trying to infer what you would tell the people.
That's what I was going to say, but my internet was a little shoddy for a second. Sorry, guys. We're back, I think.
We're all good. It's monsooning here, so who knows what's going on out there. All right. Talk to me about the other side of this game. One of the bizarre things in week 5 was that Daniels, a great quarterback for Kansas, just randomly scratched. What is the status that we know of, and how does that change the entire landscape of this game?
He's expected back, so let's go. Or excuse me, he's not expected back, so let's go. We've got Jason Bean is what I was trying to say. Anyway, he runs more than Daniels does. I would not stack him, or at least I wouldn't force it, but I think he's your preferred paydown quarterback. I don't think you need to get there, but if you're going down to that range, I do think he's a solid play to get to.
With Bean, I'm going to operate that's kind of what we're going to see. What does that do to Arnold and Grimm and these type of guys? Were they playable before this? Are they playable now? How does that change with the pass catchers?
I don't have a lot of these guys. It's mainly they're sprinkled into game stacks because I am game stacking this. So I have a little bit of like Arnold, Skinner, and Grimm, but it's literally under 5% of each of them. And I'm not trying to have these guys like make or break my day.
In the backfield, what about the role for a guy like Devin Neal?
Should be solid. In more competitive games last week, they got smoked.
They got crushed.
So you saw Highshaw play more. But when games are competitive, you get a lot of Neal. And in a game like this that projects to be competitive, he should be fine. UCF's allowing 4.6 yards per carry. They've been terrible against opposing rushers. You can play Neal just fine.
We had a question from chat from Pierre. Appreciate it. Plumlee or Shadur Sanders? This is on FanDuel.
Plumlee.
Okay. So you're very comfortable with Plumlee, and I know you're a big fan of his mobility, obviously.
Yes. And not a fan of Shadur's sacks.
Yes. I'm telling you, Arizona State, I think they're going to give them some real trouble here. That's neither here nor there. Let's get to this last game, and then we'll take some questions. We'll turn it around. And, of course, stay tuned. We got you covered here at Stokastic all day. There'll be NFL content, and then tomorrow, buckle up. You're going to be seeing everybody talking Owner's Box, FanDuel, DraftKings, getting ready for a great NFL slate. We will have you ready, and we're looking forward to it. But make sure you're signed up. Again, take advantage of those deals. No reason not to. So you are good to go with all the tools for the week. Vanderbilt and Florida. This is another lopsided game as we kind of round it out. Times are tough for Florida, mostly when they're on the road, though. Let's start with Vanderbilt. They've been disappointing in their own right. Is there much for this team to really talk about here?
Nope. X out Vanderbilt.
Oh. What if you? No, can't even spin it. All right,
I can't play Vanderbilt. I can't do it. You can't make me do it.
It's so bad, man. All right, let's talk about Florida, because this is a team again. The road has been awful for them. They've looked very good at home. Now a couple bozo teams, and then they handled Tennessee. Graham Mertz, is he relevant to this slate?
Nope.
Is the backfield relevant? What do we have there? Montrell Johnson?
He's a smash play. He's the best running back play on the slate. Sorry, I'm trying to upload my CSV.
No, not at all. I mean,
without Trevor Etienne, he's the best play on the slate. At running back, it's not close. Play him in cash.
Yeah, and so that's really what I kind of want to drill down to, because you mentioned the ETN situation. We've talked about, Allen from Syracuse and some of these guys. You alluded to kind of those top 3 running backs. Johnson seems like he's at the very top of that list. Great usage, great game script. They're at home. Vanderbilt, just not good. Price is right. So you're comfortable, you mentioned, in cash. Another guy that's going to be very popular, I would imagine, with Walker and the LSU Missouri stacks. I can see the lineup formulating already. So in that concept, what does that give us on the outside for Florida? Is Pearsall or someone like that a way to be different, or is that just stupid?
They're too expensive. It's not stupid, but they're very pricey. Like, why is Pearsall among the most expensive players on this slate? Like, why? What do we need Ricky Pearsall at this price tag for?
Yeah, that is a fair question. Is there anything else for this game, or can we just take some questions from chat?
Questions from chat would be great.
Okay, so I'll start rattling them off. A lot of these again, if we don't get to them, at JazzRaz DFS, at Matt_Gajewski, we're on Twitter. Happy to help. News is going to update. Late swap will be relevant. If you had to get that pay down wide receiver, would you go to Walker? Would you go to Hernandez? I know you've mentioned him too as a viable option.
Yeah, I would use this kind of depending on how big your tournament is. I prefer Walker straight up, but if you're playing in a large field tournament, he's going to be extremely owned. So just keep that in the back of your mind when making a decision on those 2 guys.
Can you talk briefly about Colorado? I know on FanDuel they're a team that people are interested, from Miller to Sanders to what else they got going on.
Yeah, I don't have any interest in Shador. He takes too many sacks, but I think you can get to the receivers, Weaver and Horn. And Omarion had an amazing game last week at the expense of my highly owned in my own lineup set. Unfortunately, Javon Antonio, he was the casualty. But yeah, you can play those guys for sure.
Would you rather have Cook and Hernandez or Plumlee and Tez Walker?
Plumlee side.
Another game on FanDuel. I like Ole Miss in this game. I think they're really going to lay it on Arkansas. When you look at that, Judkins and Dart and those type of guys, I mean, I assume they're firmly in play.
Oh, yeah. Judkins rules. That game is really good over there.
What about on the other side? What about KJ Jefferson? Can he hold up to the sacks?
Probably not.
That's really where, I mean, you mentioned, I'm going to have to repeat this. You mentioned to this on Betting You, which you can always find over on OddsShopper. And I don't have the exact numbers, but I'm pretty sure he dropped back 29 times, but he only had 17 pass attempts last week, which means
that's exactly it, Ben. Your memory, phenomenal.
You see, well, I'm wearing a Dartmouth sweatshirt, so I've got the Ivy League infused. You are what you're wearing here. But yeah, just 12 dropbacks that resulted in just him running for his life. That's a dangerous game. Do you like Cam Ward or Brady Cook straight up?
Brady Cook.
Mayan or Devin Neal?
Devin Neal.
If you couldn't play Daniels, who would your second quarterback be?
Cam Ward. Or maybe, I don't know, Cam Ward or Plumlee.
Cam Ward or Plumlee.
That's not actually answering the question, but they're both sick.
No, that's good enough. I like that. Back to Arkansas a little bit. Raheem Sanders, we both think he's an absolute dog. I love that guy. Is he in play, or is it, again, just the issues going up against Ole Miss defense? It renders him maybe on the outside.
I'm playing him a lot on FanDuel. I love that guy.
Okay. Favorite 5,600 or under value for cash?
Oh, I have no idea. I'm not going to be able to look that up right now. You'd have to give me the names.
Let's see what I can do when I just register someone that's not playable. If you give me a list of guys, I cannot do that right now with my CSV stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's just most of the guys really. I'm just gonna really. I think you want to find a couple $100 because Montrell Johnson is at 58. Omarion Hampton's at 57. These are guys, and as well as LaQuint Allen at 58. Those are three really, really good options. So if you're boxed out of all of them and you're having to, talk about Kobe Hudson and guys like that, I think there's a major opportunity cost. So I'd hate to say rebuild, but my priority would be to try to get to those guys, because I think you're going to be drawing to like Tyler Brown would be my answer if I had to guess there.
I agree with everything you said.
Walker and Shipley or Hernandez and Hampton?
Hernandez side.
Yeah, I would agree. The Walker situation is a very tough decision. There's no doubt about it. This is an interesting one. Again, we're just going to take a couple more before we bounce on out of here. We talked about these guys at the beginning, and I know they're GPPs only, but if you were in the Texas game and say you're playing Ewers, would you rather have Mitchell or Worthy?
Worthy.
Okay.
Price adjusted, I think Mitchell's a better play, though.
I think we did some pretty good work here. How you feeling? Feeling
bad?
Good? Bad? Good? Bad? One or the other? I was close. Just the complete opposite of the word, but that's all right. Chad,
Not
I think
good.
I think we're in pretty good shape. It's a fun slate. It's
you
a different
might be.
slate. Well, I'm believe me, I've been sweating out. You don't even know what goes on before the show. I was sweating out Everton before the show. Trust me. Nothing good can come from things like that. You don't want to be messing around with that type of shenanigans. But I think we're going to bounce on out of here, friends. We're going to turn it over. We've got stochastic shows all day long, and we have absolutely got you covered. I'm just going to say one more thing real quick. Promo codes are there for you guys. If you want to save some money, you got the promo code Texas, 20% off that week or month. And we just want you as part of the community. If you're not ready to buy something, of course, we understand. Hit the like button, subscribe to this very channel, at least join us for the shows. This stuff is here for you guys. We want you to make money. We want you to build the brand. We're really excited what we've got going on here at Stokastic and on Odd Chopper on the betting side. But for me and Matt, if you've got questions, hit us up on Twitter. And for third member of the team, Jacob Roach, making this show go this morning, we appreciate you guys. It's going to be a fun one, hopefully a profitable one. When you win, make sure to tweet us. We've seen some great screenshots from the community. We want to keep those going. But we're going to bounce on out of here. Till next time, guys. Good luck today. Enjoy the games. We'll see you next week.